Did you know that there are over 600 million Africans with no access to electricity in a continent that has a wide range of renewable energy sources? Access to energy is one of the profound development challenges sub-Saharan Africa faces. This has left the region far behind in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. So, in this video, we're going to look at an engineering topic, the first of its kind on this channel. I hope you're going to enjoy it. As you can see, we have a matching t-shirt for it, energy written there. A lot of you are not subscribed. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. It really helps build the channel. Now let's get into it. Looking at Africa's energy landscape, the main sources of energy are coal, oil, and natural gas. Then the renewables, we have solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. So let's start by explaining them briefly if you're wondering how they produce electricity from them. Now, coal, oil, and natural gas have a similar way of getting electricity from them. They are burned in a boiler to turn water to steam. And then the steam goes along and moves a turbine. The turbine is connected to a generator which makes power as it turns. And that electrical energy that is generated is then transferred to the grid for consumption. This is like the simplest way I can explain it. Then for the renewables, let's start with solar. The energy that is gotten from the sun gets converted to electrical energy through the solar panel. The electricity that is generated is in direct current, so it gets converted to alternating current through the inverter, and then it can be used for consumption. The next one is hydro. Hydroelectricity is generated by constructing a dam. A dam restricts the flow of, let's say, a river. Beneath the dam, there is a passage for water, so that's where a turbine gets installed. The water spins the turbine, and the turbine is connected to a generator, and as you know, the generator converts the kinetic energy to electrical energy, which gets transferred for consumption. The next is wind. Electricity is generated from wind by installing a wind turbine. The speed of the wind causes the wind turbine to spin, and as it spins, it is connected to a gearbox, which helps increase the spin of the shaft, which is also connected to a generator. And as you know, the generator converts the spin to electricity, which gets transferred to a converter. The converter converts it to alternating current, which then gets transferred to the transformer and then to the grid for consumption. Now, the next one is geothermal energy. From the word geo is earth, thermal is heat. So this is an energy source basically gotten from the earth's heat. The thing with geothermal is that there are some hotspots around the world. These are places where the heat in the ground are closer to the surface of the earth. That is where you have like hot springs, where you see the water is quite hot and it comes off steam. This shows that there is a hotspot around there. So geothermal energy is converted to electricity by looking for those spots, and then you dig to get access to the heat. The heat turns water to steam, and as you know, the steam turns a turbine, and that's how electricity is formed along the way. Now let's get back to our main discussion, sustainable energy in Africa. Coal, oil, and natural gas accounted for 77% of Africa's electricity generation in 2018. The continent's biggest consumers are South Africa, Nigeria, Algeria, and Egypt. Renewable energy's contribution to Africa's total energy supply grew from 16% in 2010 to only 21% in 2020, indicating that further investment and innovation are needed to expedite progress. For Africa's renewable resources, it is not just the volume but also the non-seasonality of its renewable energy that stands out. The nearly year-round sunshine makes Africa's solar potential particularly unique and perfectly suited for industrial demands, something that is quite challenging in other areas around the world. With solar energy leading the growth in renewables in these countries, Just 10% of sub-Saharan Africa's hydropower is utilized. Furthermore, most of Africa has excellent solar energy potential, as we know, and coastal areas have wind energy potential. In East Africa, geothermal energy is becoming the second largest power source, primarily in Kenya and Ethiopia. The International Renewable Energy Association estimates that Africa could have 310 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. This is in part due to the region's high potential in a range of clean energy. It has 10 terawatts of solar energy capacity, 350 gigawatts of hydro, 110 gigawatts of wind, and 15 gigawatts of geothermal capacity. So there's more that needs to be done to have access to the untapped renewable energy resources in Africa. There is immense need of energy in Africa, and that energy cannot and should not be fossil fuels. It has to be renewables. So you might ask, what is being done about it? Well, there are a lot of investments that are going into it. Regionally, Southern Africa received the largest share of investments, but this was overwhelmingly concentrated in South Africa. This was followed by Northern Africa, largely in Morocco, then East Africa with over half going to Kenya, then West Africa with the majority somewhat equally split among Nigeria, Senegal, Mauritania, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Burkina Faso. Then Central Africa, which received the lowest level of renewable energy investments. Now, there is growing inequality in investments across the countries. Of course, they can't be equal, but could you imagine that in 2018, half of all solar investments were in Morocco, 62% of wind investments were in South Africa. Overall, 4 countries accounted for 75% of renewable energy investments between 2010 to 2020, namely South Africa, Morocco, Kenya, and Egypt. At present, majority of the renewable energy investments come from the public sector, which is in sharp contrast to global trends. Globally, just 14% of investments come from the public sector. The reliance on public finance is as a result of countries being unable to attract private capital due to perceived political, economic, and legal risks. Next is there are some initiatives on ground for sustainable energy in Africa, like the Africa Clean Energy Corridor. This is a regional initiative to accelerate the development of renewable energy potential and cross-border trade of renewable power within the Eastern African Power Pool and the Southern African Power Pool. Then later on, the West Africa Clean Energy Corridor was introduced, and this covers mainly the ECOWAS region, and this helps in promoting a sustainable solar market in the ECOWAS region, and it also provides entrepreneurship support facility and certification program for solar installers in the region. Next is, as you can see on the map, we have the Pan-Arab Clean Energy, which covers some parts of Northern Africa and also some parts of Eastern Africa, thereby enabling the International Renewable Energy Agency to have access, to have influence, to help, to assist in developing a lot of these countries in implementing renewable energy solutions, in tapping the potential of renewable energy resources on the continent. The African Development Bank is also playing a very important role. It has placed energy at the top of its high five priorities, and some years back, they launched a new deal on energy for Africa with an overarching goal of universal energy access by 2025. We're in 2023 now, and there's still much work that needs to be done. They intend to increase grid power by 160 gigawatts and connecting 130 million people to the grid. Additionally, the bank aims to connect 75 million people to off-grid systems and provide 150 million households with access to clean cooking energy. This will help in bringing down the number of people that don't have clean cooking energy, which is about 900 million people on the continent with no clean cooking energy. Just recently, the inaugural Africa Climate Summit was held in Kenya, which I see as a step towards the right direction. The summit was an effort from the African countries to garner some support to gain some private and foreign investments in renewable energy in Africa. After the Africa Climate Summit, there was the Nigeria Energy Summit, although I couldn't have access to the summit because there wasn't any live stream on YouTube and so on. But the point I'm making is that a lot of these events are happening, conferences, summits, and seminars, which I see as a huge step in the right direction. The only issue is less talk and more action. So the next is, how far have we come? A good example for that would be Kenya. During the Africa Climate Summit, the Kenyan President William Ruto mentioned that in Kenya, 93% of the electricity is renewable, which is largely from geothermal sources in the Great Rift Valley. Another great example would be the 1.5 gigawatt solar park in Egypt. I mean, this has increased Egypt's generation capacity and has also contributed to reducing dependence on imported oil and gas, thereby improving the country's energy security. The Bemban Solar Park has also helped in avoiding about 1.9 million tons of CO2 yearly. I mean, that is just crazy. And this happens to be the largest solar park in the world. The next is the Ouarzazate Solar Complex in Morocco. I just hope I pronounced it correctly. And this is the largest concentrated solar plant in the world. It has produced and delivered over 814 gigawatt of clean energy through the national grid since 2016. Last year, the solar plant saved 217,000 tons of CO2. There are a lot of these types of projects scattered around Africa, which I think is a very good thing. I think it's also very important to point out that a lot of the impact that has been achieved on the ground include, mapping out resource-rich and cost-effective areas for solar and wind development. As you can see, zoning maps highlight promising solar and wind sites. Next is investment frameworks are more conducive to renewables. Local capabilities have been enhanced across the renewable energy value chain. There has been improved project bankability and easier access to finance. This has been a problem in the recent years, but it has become easier right now. There has also been amplified off-grid impact. This, I think, is very important, especially here in Nigeria. I can see it happening. A lot of people are employing off-grid solutions to their energy problems. There are a lot of homes, there are a lot of businesses that are using solar energy right now. And this, I think, is as a result of the difficulty of depending on the national grid to provide you energy. And lastly, a stronger role in Africa for geothermal energy. I would end with this. If Africa can achieve its renewable energy potential and find the funds to do so, the continent could make a significant contribution to securing a safe and sustainable future, not just for itself, but for every other region and country in the world. This I believe to be true. Make sure you drop some thoughts in the comments about the video, and also make sure you drop some of the topics you'd like us to cover on the channel. Thank you for watching.